Hey everybody, thank you guys for joining our final AMA on the Binance Smart Chain. Definitely need to clap for that. So today's agenda for the AMA, we're going to go through our launch schedule. So we've done some testing on the testnet, quote unquote. We've deployed testnet a bunch of times, and this is the best schedule we feel that gives us the most confidence in a successful launch. We'll go through why as we go through the timeline. But before we get started, let's go through some housekeeping items. The chat's muted for the duration of the AMA. If any questions come up during the AMA, feel free to reach out to any of the admins or mods, and they will pass those messages down to us. So after the AMA, we'll do a short Q&A and answer as many questions as we can. We want to keep this as tight as possible. It's a Friday afternoon, Friday evening, Friday night for some of you, so definitely want to enjoy the weekend. With that, my name is Neville Devecha. I'm one of the co-CEOs of Steam Exchange, operating under the Operations Silo. Chris, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, sir. For those who don't know me, my name is Chris Beckford. I am also the co-CEO and head of infrastructure here at Steam Exchange.
Right on. Let's get right into it. Okay, so on your screen, you're going to see the schedule. I'm sure all of you guys are looking right to the right side to figure out what day we're going to go live, but we want to go through the entire schedule nonetheless, just to help you understand kind of what we're going to be going through in this timeline, and the amount of hours and effort it's going to take. So we've actually outlined that in brackets with the amount of days that we've allocated towards each milestone. So to kick things off, of course, on Sunday night, the countdown expires, and that's when we initiate this plan. Starting Monday, we enter into milestone 1, which is the main one and the biggest one, and actually the most crucial one, which is deploying our mainnet. So we've been in testnet now for about a year and a half. We've made up a significant amount of tweaks to testnet as we've gone. Unfortunately, we haven't had a block explorer, so we haven't been able to see those changes or see those tweaks that we've made and how they function. But we're going to have a block explorer now, so that's good. So what goes into deploying mainnet? So it's not just a script that runs that's automated like our nodes would run off of. For example, we're using automation scripts to deploy nodes. We're using automation scripts to deploy RPCs, archive nodes. But for mainnet, the actual blockchain, it's a very tedious process. So of course, first things first, we initiate the blockchain. We set up the Genesis block. We set up the initial funds, the tokens, the Genesis fund that's going to fund the initiation of the rest of the contracts. But that's the easy part. So after that, it goes into configuration. So we've tweaked testnet significantly. And like I said, it's not automated. So all those configurations and changes and tweaks that we've made need to be manually pushed to mainnet. So mainnet's going to go on in its base form. And then after that goes online, then we start making our configurations and our tweaks to match testnet. So once we get that to where we need to be, we'll be confident enough to release the RPC for it. We've slated about 1 to 3 days for that, depending on how it goes. Again, we only have one shot at this, and we can't stress the importance of this particular milestone enough. If we get this particular step wrong, we're going to have to go back and change a lot of configurations. For example, the chain ID would have to be changed. The RPC information would have to be changed. So we'd have to go and generate new information, update all the smart contracts, and so on and so forth. So milestone 1 is, I think, the most crucial step. It's the most tedious, and it's going to possibly take us the most time. So moving on to milestone 2.
Yeah, you definitely hit the nail on the head there, Neville, right? I mean, without milestone 1, without mainnet Rails network, there is no subsequent downstream deliverables, right? So to Neville's point, making sure that is set up as designed and as we needed to is the most important thing, right? Looking over at day 2, which is milestone 2, day 4 to 5, which puts us around the August 3rd to 4th time frame. Us deploying our mainnet SteamX. We've been here before with regards to the testnet native coin. We liked how that flowed, and this is going to flow exactly the same, right? So that will be the first big thing once we have the mainnet set up that we will be doing. Directly behind that, we do have some of the most important ones, not all of them, but our governance contracts, right? These are going to be, who our developers will be interfacing with, who we will be interfacing with, and some of you users as well too, right? The most important ones we have listed here are the admin contracts, The developer whitelist contracts, as I mentioned, which our approved developers will be interfacing with, infrastructure peer connection scripts, which is going to be huge for our in-house management and how we go back and forth there. Are just some of the contracts that we will be launching or deploying within the day 4 to 5 timeframe. Again, that's around the August 3rd to 4th. Flipping over to milestone 3.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris. So for milestone 3, we have it slated between day 6 and day 9. And in milestone 3, we're going to go through deploying some of the apps. So of course, first and foremost, we have the Block Explorer. So the Block Explorer is going to go online around day 6. Followed by that, we have our Launchpad. We have the migration app that you're going to use to claim your tokens. That's going to go online, but not initialized. And also the swap's going to go online, or at least the protocols. So in the protocols, we have things like the router contracts, the factory contracts, the liquidity lock contracts, and things like that. So in milestone 3, we're going to go through deploying all the applications and the relative smart contracts. And of course, all the protocols need to go online.
Right on. Now, looking at milestone 4, the first one you'll see is mainnet stress testing, right? Something to note, even though it's listed here, this is something that's ongoing all the time, right? But you'll notice that, by the time you get to, milestone 4, we have now, added a substantial load onto the network, right? So when we say stress testing, this is what we want to make sure, right? As we start to add our applicable apps and stuff and load onto the network, we're continuing to stress test, right? And where needed and if applicable, you'll see right below infrastructure scaling, right? We did mention, the last time around in our AMAs, when it comes to our infrastructure, we have it stood up with the most amount of, scalability, redundancy, and availability, right? That's how we've approached this entire infrastructure, right? Out the gates with our 14 nodes, right? But where applicable and if needed, we can definitely spin up these nodes at a pretty fast rate. And we're confident in that. So if we do need it at that early, we don't think we will, but if we do, we will be scaling accordingly. As we kind of segue into the last milestone, which will be the go live. Nev?
Perfect. And then, of course, the moment everyone's been waiting for, including us, August 11th is what we've slated for our migration date. So that's when all the applications will go live, all the smart contracts will be properly initialized and enabled, and then you, the investors, can go in and start claiming your native coin. So that is kind of the buildup to the biggest milestone being our launch. So definitely exciting for us. We've been at this for a long time now. We've been through so many different hurdles and so many different types of hurdles that, being at this point, at this junction, is just very special to us. Especially, Chris and I and Pete, who's been basically grinding it out nonstop for the last, let's say, 90 to 100 days. I always say I don't complain, but I told my admins today I'm going to complain. But it's been 16 to 18-hour days, very little sleep, very little family time. We haven't met as often as we used to, so there's been a lot of sacrifices across the board, and definitely we're excited for August 11th to roll by. And then just behind us, we have actually within this time frame, the NFC Arcade is going to go live. So I believe that they've slightly modified their schedule, and they're going to be going live just shortly after probably milestone 2 or milestone 3. Once the blockchain is online on mainnet, they are free to go ahead and deploy their arcade and get their own smart contracts and their own ecosystem initialized. And then right behind them, we have MetaOps. So definitely exciting times ahead. I think August 11th is really the start of our journey. And what comes next for all of us is hopefully a lot of adoption and a lot of utility coming to the chain through different streams.
Yeah, I think Neville, I think that's huge, right? Even though we didn't highlight, I'm happy you called that out, right? I think that shows the testament, right, to what we've been doing here as collectively as a unit. And then this goes right, through our mods, our admins, core team, ourselves, our investors, community, through everything we've been through and everything we brought to the table. Again, we have projects that are ready to launch on the blockchain. I think that's something that we really need to hold in high regard. and we're excited for what's to come, right? So it's a lot bigger than just us. Again, this is a collective, and this doesn't work without every aspect turning, right? So that's huge, and we're definitely excited to have you guys get across the line and claim your mainnet native coins, and just interact with Rails network, right? Everything that is Rails network. And to Neville's point, this is only the beginning in terms of adoption on the Rails network. We have a lot of great stuff coming on the pipeline, and we're just excited to just keep the wheels turning. So even though it's been a long 2 years, there's still a long road ahead of us for sure.
For sure, absolutely. Jade never answered my question. Hey, Jade, do you want to check our chat quickly before we move on? TikTok. Okay, cool. So with that, we'll wrap up the AMA part of it, or not the AMA part, but I guess the presentation part of it. I hope everyone is excited for the timeline. It's fairly short considering what we have to go through in the next couple of weeks, and of course what we've all endured over the last 2 years. So let's just keep our grind going. The community has been amazing at retweeting, liking tweets, and getting some more attention on our project. Let's keep that momentum going. We will the launch promo that I dropped in the chat. I'm just going to make a couple tweaks to it, and I'll put it online as well. Let's get that circulating to get people excited, and also maybe hear about us for the first time in a cool way. So let's move on to some questions. Let's see if we have any hands up first. No, we don't. That's not cool. Admins, did any messages come in? Everyone was just satisfied?
No, not yet.
All right. Oh, here we go. We have a question. All right. Grace Sindleo, you're good to talk.
Thank you, guys. I just wanted to ask one thing, because I think you didn't say, maybe I didn't hear. I was just gonna ask. First, I want to thank you all for the great work, guys. Secondly, I just wanted to ask, when is the trading on BSC is going to stop? Is it on August 11 or any other milestone behind?
Great question. So you're right. We didn't mention that. So trading is probably slated to stop on the date of migration. So the morning that we are going to initialize the migration protocols is when we're gonna create the pool. So between now and then, you're free to continue trading on the BSC, whether you're selling your positions, buying into your positions, whatever you have to do. So that's going to be open between now and August 11th.
Okay, thank you very much.
No problem. Thanks for your question. Let's see. Don't see any more hands. Last call, maybe, Chris, you think?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. And like I said,
here we go. Moon Baboon has a question. All right, here we go. Go for it, buddy.
Nice.
Moon Baboon, you're unmuted. You can speak. Damn, it was such a cool name. I was hoping we can get a voice to match it.
I was just gonna say that. You're saying Moomaboon as it's rolling.
Here we go. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how you doing? Sorry, I was having mic issues.
That's okay. Go ahead. What's your question?
Hey, quick question. So basically, when Steam goes live, will it have stables also for people to be able to use, and like if they want to purchase and stuff?
Yeah, good question. So the main pair is going to be SteamX native with USDC. So to begin with, we'll have the one stable, which you can wrap and unwrap through the swap onto Rails network. So just getting your hands on USDC, you can use the cross-chain swap portion of our trading tool to get your crypto into USDC, and then of course you can use that USDC to buy into SteamX. You can also use the on-ramper that we have plugged into both the trading tool and our website. If you don't have any crypto and you need to get USDC, you can buy some USDC directly.
So if you have USDC already on BSC network, do we have to bridge it, or we can just use it cross-chain swap? You're saying?
So you'd have to wrap it. So you'd have your USDC, and it's going to be pegged on the Rails network. So you'd have to when you plug it into the tool and you want to trade it for SteamX, if you're using, for example, the cross chain swap, it will wrap it for you. If you want to just have Rails network USDC, then you can trade it directly for the USDC on Rails network.
Awesome. Okay, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Yeah, and on that note too, Neville, over there, we will have the appropriate documentation released as well to support that for any other users that might have similar questions like that. There will be support and documentation as well too with regard to the swap.
Yep, absolutely. That's going to come out with the swap. So our documentation that exists today, which is the white paper, that's going to convert into a, I guess, technical document. So you'll be able to read through that document and figure out how to use the tools. Fairly straightforward if you've used any kind of decentralized swap before. We've tried to simplify it as much as possible. We've added as many little tool tips and I guess pieces of verbiage around the tool as possible without cluttering the UI. But nonetheless, there'll still be a document that will outline the swap and how it works. All right, we have SC with his hands up. Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, Neville and Chris. Good evening. Thank you for the great work you've done. So I just want to ask, please, can you paint a picture of how we get to buy SteamX when after August 11? Like, what I mean is, for instance, if I want to buy SteamX as it is currently, I go to Binance. I get a Binance coin. I move it to Trust Wallet. From Trust Wallet, I go to Pancake Swap. Then I swap the coin. So after May, August 11, are we having our own wallet, or just explain the flow so that we prepare our minds on how to start buying SteamX after August 11? Thank you very much.
Good question. Okay, so I guess the flow would be very similar. You would on ramp USDC, and you would then trade, or I guess transfer that USDC into your Trust Wallet or MetaMask. I believe to begin with, if you're an Apple user, it would be MetaMask, and you would trade that USDC against a SteamX. So the main pair will be instead of right now how it's SteamX BNB, it'll be SteamX USDC. Did that answer your question? I guess we can expand on it, right? So if you have any crypto, right, you can then trade that crypto through our swap for USDC, including BNB. So if you still have BNB left over from the SteamX BNB ecosystem, you can trade your BNB for USDC and then trade that USDC for SteamX. In the future, the cross chain will have a route plugged in to go directly from BNB to SteamX, and it'll swap your USDC for you. But at the moment, the cross chain functionality is very limited as we continue to optimize it. So in the actual tool itself, we put a notice there that the cross chain is in beta, and more functions and features will be added over time.
Okay, that answers it. Thank you very much.
No problem. Thank you for your question. We have a bunch of hands up now. Cool. So we have D Snow. Go ahead.
I also, can you hear me?
Hey, how's it going? Yep, we can hear you.
Hello. Yeah. My question is not kind of question, it's kind of advice for the team. It's all about we have been here with the team since the inception, since the pre-sale from Pinkston and all that. And thank God for the journey so far. So my own kind of talk is about the issue with SEC, uh, send some coin security or not. Hope the team has put enough documentation that can avoid that in the future, because I know this project is going to be big, and so that we don't encounter such kind of thing in the future. Hope the team has put everything in documentation in place to avoid such things in the future. That's just my own.
For sure, and I think we've definitely learned our lesson over the last couple of years when it comes to documentation. Um, we haven't been the most up to date with the documentation just because there's so many moving parts. Not an excuse, but there's so many moving parts when it comes to what we're building. That some pieces that we may feel a little less important, such as documentation, may be neglected. But nonetheless, we do document, I guess, everything that we work on. So every app, every tool, even every line of code has comments in it, so we know exactly what's going on. So we'll definitely build out some adequate documentation to help, I guess, bridge that gap in the future. Thank you. Okay, so next we have Eric. Go ahead, buddy.
You can hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you. How's
Oh,
it going?
okay. Yes. Oh, great. Now, my question is if there are any other packed coins on the Rails network besides USDC, already mentioned, but is it also like BNB or ETH, but then packed? And will that also be, let's say, available on the Rails network?
Yeah. So kind of what Neville alluded to earlier on, right? So out the gate, it will be USDC as you mentioned. We definitely are going to be adding more over time, but our priority is getting the main pair done first, and then we will be slowly ramping up to that. But as many as needed to support the ecosystem, we're definitely looking to have, right?
Okay, we will see. So we'll start with USDC and SteamX, of course.
That's correct.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. So I see Salim has his hands up. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Hi. Yep. How are you?
Good. I have a question. What are the future advertised for teammates?
Sorry, can you say that one more time? It's a little bit hard to hear you.
I just wanted to know, are there gonna be any future advertised for teammates?
Advertise? Did you say advertising?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're referring to marketing, right? I think we've touched this on the past, but we definitely will continue down our current trajectory with regards to Twitter Spaces and things that we're doing right now. We do have plans which we will be sharing in a few weeks once you get past the launch and everything, with regards to some marketing, real life marketing and marketing firms that we're going to be plugging into. That's something that's hot on our plate as well too. But yeah, we'll definitely have a good hybrid approach to marketing, right? From what we've seen, obviously over the last couple of years, some of your traditional marketing that's done within the space doesn't work anymore, right? So seeing that we're now navigating outside of the said space, we definitely have a lot of fresh ideas and kind of inputs to how we're going to be doing marketing. So we're looking forward to sharing that, as the weeks progress. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I don't see any more hands up. Let me just check our admin chat, make sure nothing came up there.
Yeah, we got Crypto Dog with her hand up as well.
Oh, right on. Okay. Go ahead, Crypto Dog.
Hey, I might have missed this, but upon launch, what cross-chain, I guess, what cross-chains will be allowed to interact upon launch? Like, will it be support Ethereum, Polygon? Like, what would be activated on launch, I guess?
Good question. So for the cross-chain swap, we've plugged in nearly every EVM compatible chain, but off the rip, we're looking to enable and initialize the Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum. Even with that, though, not all routes will work. We're definitely trying to weed out as many meme coins that are on those networks as possible. But of course, as we know, both those spaces are riddled with them, so it's difficult to track them all down. But nonetheless, as they pop up, we've developed an admin panel that we can just go in and blacklist, I guess, contract addresses that we can disable and enable both chains and also projects and contracts. So to answer your question, it's going to be basically to start with Binance Smart Chain and Ethereum.
Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Not a problem. Thanks for your question. All right, no more hands right now, so let's go to the admin chat. Ice is typing. He said those are just my questions, but I'll ask them anyways. It's good questions, buddy. So he said, do you guys want to touch on mining or nodes? Like, when can people start mining and running nodes on mining pools? So great question. So we've always said that we want to have mining available right away, but we've taken a step back from that approach just because of the, I guess, the subsequent or the consequential workload that comes with them. So to get this sprint done, to get the migration going for August 11th, mining will not be available right away. But the way it's going to work to begin with is our infrastructure. We have 14 nodes set up. So we have 14 and then plus 14. So we have 28 nodes actually running in parallel on balance. That's in a hot scenario, which means they're all online at the same time for redundancy. And those will act as our nodes. And then for mining, those 28 pieces of infrastructure will be validating in parallel with the miners. One of the other reasons we actually went this route, where we didn't open up mining right away, is we want to see kind of how much the infrastructure can handle when it comes to validating. Mining will be open very shortly after, so we're not talking another year before we can mine. We're talking a couple of months, and then we'll open up mining to the community. Chris mentioned our infrastructure is very scalable, both horizontally and vertically. So that means that if we need to stand up new nodes to go in addition to the 14 plus 14, it's very easy for us to do that. And then we would only do that if we've reached the vertical ceiling. So we can scale up the specs of each server and keep going until we reach the top tier. And then we can start building out new nodes. So we want to see what the load is. We haven't been able to fully test that on testnet. We did stress it enough, but we think that we won't know for sure until mainnet goes live. So once we can see what the infrastructure can handle, we obviously don't want to scale all the way up vertically. We want to have some room to breathe. We'll start opening up mining to the public. As far as the rewards go from infrastructure validation, majority of those rewards are going to be burnt. Some of those rewards are going to be to offset infrastructure costs. So the cost of having those 28 nodes, some of the rewards that's earned by the infrastructure for validating will be applied to that. The rest of them will just be burnt. It's a good question, Ice. Thank you. All right, I don't see any new hands, but Hotline sent in a message. I've been asked about creating pairs. How many have been created so far? How many more need to be created? Okay, so for the pairs, we're going to start with the main pair, USDC SteamX. And then as we start scaling and as we see the demand grow for other pairs, we'll start adding them sooner than later. But we're reserving the amount of pairs that we create to begin with, just because we want to increase the utilization of our swap and our cross-chain swap. So of course we're an organization, we're a business. We're trying to maximize the amount of course, transactions that we intake. So to accomplish that, one of the I guess strategies is to limit the amount of pairs in the beginning, just to generate adoption on the swap. Another reason is we truly believe the swap is a pretty cool tool. We've played around with it quite a bit. It is in our sandbox, so it's live. We were able to do real trades. I think I put a couple of videos out of me trading my BNB for BUSD. So we're pretty confident that once people start using that swap, they'll be happy to use it over other swaps, and that will generate the adoption. Even if you're using it just for trading other coins and not for Rails network coins, that's still revenue for the organization. So Over time, we'll have more pairs. We will have, for example, we might have a SteamX BNB pair, SteamX ETH pair. But to begin with, we'll start with the USDC pair. Cool. So I don't have any other questions from the admins. I don't have any hands up. I guess we can go. Oh, hand just went up. Evil Shark. Go ahead, buddy.
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep, you're
Hey guys,
audible.
how's everyone doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Great. Thank you, man.
Yeah, man. First of all, congrats, guys. It's a long time since we are building these exchange and all the tools for the future stuff. It was a long journey with you guys, but like, yeah, finally the end of the tunnel. So I have just a quick question about the once the exchange go live, will we have like a LP for the pairs to provide like a staking or like a farming stuff?
Yeah. So out the gate, right? From a staking perspective, staking perspective, they won't have the actual staking, right? But that is something that sorry, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. So from an actual staking perspective, right? We won't have the actual staking out the gate, right? But if you're looking, at it from a pooling perspective and the USDC, you are able to kind of remove your USDC from the pool, right? But your traditional staking, again, that's something that we are advantageously looking at for the future. But just out the gate, we won't have your traditional staking and farming in place.
Yeah. But and the swap, the main pool that's created using our router and factory, you'll be able to add and remove liquidity from if you want to contribute. So the way it works is if you want to contribute to the pool, you would be able to add in your SteamX native coin and USDC. And I guess that is something kind of like traditional staking, but it's only available for our token or our coin. Sorry, I'm gonna stop saying token. It's gonna be hard to get over. But you're gonna be able to, of course, add to the pool and contribute, which is a form of quote unquote staking. Another form of staking that we're gonna have is the node operators. So the node operators are not gonna earn rewards. They're gonna earn a salary. And that's actually another reason why we're not introducing mining right away. Because we're not sure what our growth is going to be like in the next few months from a revenue perspective, and would we be able to pay those salaries and whatnot. So the node operators would be staking their native for the opportunity to run a node and earn that salary. So that's technically another form of staking, quote unquote, but it's not traditional staking where you lock in this much, you get this percentage, you lock in that much, you get that percentage. Your salary as a node operator would be the same as every other node operator. And then for pool operators, it's similar to a validator. So a pool operator would also stake their tokens, but then in exchange for the salary, they're going to get bonus awards. So, for example, if you're getting these are just rough numbers. I'm not putting the actual numbers out there, but if you're earning 1 token per block as a validator, as a pool operator, you might earn an additional 0.2 of a token for managing the pool. So the way we divided the work effort is the node operator has the least work, I would say, from a, I guess, hands-on perspective. Their profile would be someone that maybe works a full-time job. They have a large amount of SteamX coin. They're not planning to do anything with it, so they want to stake it for a node, and they earn a little bit of a side salary. For the pool operator, maybe you are a seasoned pool operator, and maybe you've been mining and validating for a long time. You do this as a full-time job, so you're earning per block, and your profile, like I mentioned, is this is what you do: you mine, you validate, and you run infrastructure. So that's kind of how we figured out what the competition for the different staking elements would be. Of course, they're not set in stone yet. When we release that information once we cross that bridge, which should be soon.
Yeah, I can see like there's a lots of thoughts has been put to the plan, and which is good to see. So just about the nodes. So is there gonna be a requirements to run the nodes or the validators? You know, like is there gonna be a requirement from your end, or there's a KYC, or there's a other process you guys have in place?
So sorry, I missed the last part. Could you just repeat the question?
So the question was like, do you guys have any other requirements? So like, you need to be like, the professional, the node runner or the validator of, in your past, or like anyone can join in.
So for the node operator, there's no real requirement as far as your background goes. Of course, we're going to go through a vetting process, not as rigorous, of course, as the tokens that want to list onto our chain or projects rather. But there's going to be some form of vetting process, an interview, and of course a contract and agreement that we sign that kind of says that okay, so you're willing to lock up your SteamX coin for minimum of 2 years. And in exchange, you're going to be compensated X amount of dollars every single month or every quarter or whatever your compensation plan looks like, and you're good to go. But for the pool operators, yes, those guys have to come with some kind of experience because running a pool comes with a certain skill set. You're going to be managing the rewards, you're going to be managing the penalties, you're going to be managing the token caps or the coin caps on the pool itself. So there's a little bit of experience required for that. We're going to offer as much assistance as we can to those pool operators that want to learn. But for the most part, I think the first pool operators and the first node operators are going to be selected quite strategically. So hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that's pretty much spot on for my question. So just for the node runners, like how much is probably it's gonna depend on how much coins you put in for the pool. And the thing is like, is there a calculations that we like you guys can disclose, or it's just like depends when you apply, or is there a chart or table to look at?
So good question. So like for the node operators, we haven't determined what the compensation is going to be yet. And the reason for that, like I mentioned, is we don't know or we can't forecast, I guess, what the revenue is going to be like for the organization in order to actually pay out those compensations. But it's not going to be as lucrative as it would be for example, a validator or a pool operator. Those guys have a lot more work to do than the node operator. But the compensation will include infrastructure costs. So for example, if you're paying $500 a month for your server, for your node, your compensation will be inclusive of that $500.
Oh, that's pretty cool actually. If you are like adding up the cost, that's kind of like take a burden off the validator and all that stuff actually.
Yeah, we're definitely going to try to keep things as balanced as possible. We're one of the, I guess, maybe only or few chains that have block penalties. So, for example, if you have a ginormous rig and you're validating and you start taking more blocks than you're entitled to, we'll start penalizing you for those blocks. And eventually you'll stop getting compensated for those blocks. And then those rewards will actually go to other miners in the pool.
That's kind of like that's kind of incentive. That's really good incentive. Like I don't think like many validator get that kind of incentive. They just have to push through more power to get more rewards. But like in the other hand, we are getting more rewards if we already pushing the blocks. That's actually pretty good incentive for validators actually.
Yeah, again, we're trying to keep it fair, right? Like there's no reason why everyone should have to go out and buy a giant rig to mine the coin. We want to make so the difficulty is going to start relatively low. It might increase a little bit in the first few months with our infrastructure validating, but overall, once we open up mining, the difficulty should still be reasonable. That even if you have a laptop with a decent graphics card, you should be able to mine some coins.
Yeah, that's pretty much answered my question.
Thank you.
There was a question in the chat here from Moon Baboon. You want to check it out?
Okay, so it says, does TMX still stand to resolve any issues for Canadian residents, and can they highlight some? Oh, for sure. So, even just us implementing or selecting the on-ramp provider that we selected, that actually solved a lot of problems for us at home, because with Binance being out and other exchanges being out, on-ramping has actually been pretty difficult. A lot of the on-ramp providers are now asking for KYC, especially if you live in Ontario. But with the on-ramper, the solution that we implemented, on-ramping, you still get options that are without KYC, with KYC, and of course, options that are not available everywhere else. So that's one of the benefits, or one of the ways we looked out for our friends at home. But yeah, definitely more incentive coming. I think the biggest incentive, or the biggest help that we'll do for our people in Canada, I said our people, I apologize, but is a centralized exchange. So once this journey with decentralized ecosystem is complete, projects are launching and things are running smooth, we're going to put heavy focus on our centralized exchange and the regulatory approvals that we need for them. I think that's going to be the game changer, not just for Canada, but I also believe for other places in the world that's struggling right now. Just one of the things that we did for on ramping, I guess, is this provider that we selected also has reach in other regions that don't have on ramping services, or don't have, I guess, reliable on ramping services. For example, India. So this provider did what they had to do. They got the right approvals and the right regulations with relationships with the right banks, and you're able to on ramp crypto in India as well. So it's not just for Canada anymore. I think it's for everybody, and I think we'll continue pushing for everybody.
Yeah, I'll just tack onto that, and I think those are great points too. I think definitely a sleeping giant, Neville. And you've done a lot of the engagement with the University of Waterloo and stuff like that. But the whole educational aspect, I want to make sure that none of us here overlook that, right? Because part of the biggest problem within the crypto realm has been the trust factor and bridging the gap, and open up everyone's eyes to crypto and understanding the power behind it, right? And it's a lot more than just Bitcoin, right? So all the great work that's been done with University of Waterloo, Sheridan, and with the whole gamified learning aspect has got a lot of buzz from local bodies here within Canada as well too. And I would say that people are quite pleased with regards to the steps that we're taking to educate those users, to help bridge that gap, right, and make people feel more comfortable, and just prepare users all over with the tools and techniques that they need to just make better decisions overall, right? So I would love to say that that's definitely resolving a lot of the issues out there today, and just making everyone stronger collectively.
For sure, I agree. I guess there's one thing I could address. It came up in our admin chat. So yes, this is not extending any timeline, right? Just want to be very clear. This is the timeline that's going to be required. None of these items could have been done beforehand. Mainnet is number one. It has to go online first. Of course, we were in development for the duration of the sprint, and we will be in development all the way up until through Sunday. So I think the final deliverables are due Sunday night when the timer ends. So we weren't able to start these milestones ahead of time. Just for anyone wondering why the migration date's not on Monday and why it's August 11th, that's why. So it takes time to initialize these protocols. We talked about it during the AMA. We went through it pretty, I think, extensively. There's a lot to get done. And yeah, it's just not something that we could have done in 24 hours. And the intention was never to do it in 24 hours. It was always to get to the point where we initialize mainnet, and then everything else kind of falls right behind it.
Yeah, and it's all about stability, right? Never, at the end of the day, we want to do things right. We want to do things properly. And the way we've kind of carved it out, I think we've revisited this, I don't know how much times, but I think this is what makes the most sense for the organization, and making sure that things are set up properly, they're tested thoroughly, and we're expecting the best results out of this here, right? This is exactly as it's laid out. So,
and for sure, right? And I mean, we've practiced this launch schedule multiple times already, and we're going to continue practicing it throughout the weekend, and probably even one more time on Monday morning before we actually go for it. But yeah, this is the amount of days it's going to take to do it correctly. I honestly, personally, if it's my own personal opinion, milestone 2, 3, 4, those are not as critical as milestone 1. So even if milestone 1 takes 5 days, the rest of that will fall into place. But August 11th is the date.
For sure.
So,
There.
just gonna jump in quick. Luciano's hands up. I'm gonna unmute him.
Right on. Thank you.
Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing well. I've been an investor in this project probably even before pre-sale, where you guys first launched, then you relaunched it again. So it's been a long journey, more probably than 2 years, and I'm super excited about what's coming. So my question is, and probably one of the big holders as well. So I'm really into this project in full force, as I said. So my question is, I'm a little bit confused about the launch of the centralized exchange. So you guys gonna first launch the mainnet and see how it goes. Then after that, you focus on the centralized exchange, or how's it gonna happen?
Yeah, that's correct. So, over the course of 2 years, there's a lot that's changed with regards to the landscape, right, of regulations and stuff like that. But, in spirit, we felt that it was the right thing to do in terms of, continuing course with our Rails network and at the very least the decentralized side of the ball and getting the swap online, right? So, immediately after, once we get, you guys migrated over and you guys have your mainnet native coin, and the apps are running, everything's running as should be, we will be shifting gears. We obviously, based on what we've already shown, you guys already seen the development of the centralized side of the ball, but there's definitely some more work to be done there, and we will be reshifting our focus immediately after that to continue course with the respective centralized side of the ball, which includes the regulatory journey where applicable, where needed, and additional developers involved too. So we will continue to keep you guys abreast. We just want you to know that after this migration, it's not like we're going to be, shutting down the Telegram chat and washing our hands and leaving. We definitely will be keeping you guys abreast through additional downstream AMAs and everything, so you guys can understand where exactly we are within that journey as well too.
All right, sounds good. Best of luck with that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I think we will take one more that came in the chat. It's about listing on exchanges. So definitely we are going to be aggressively listing on exchanges. We have a couple of exchanges in mind that we want to start with. We want to start with smaller exchanges to begin with, and then as adoption grows, we want to definitely list on the bigger ones. We already have our applications filled out for those exchanges. We already have contact with the listing managers. Internally, we vetted them. So it's not one of those Telegram guys that message you and say, I can list you on Binance. It's actually people from the organization itself that we verified. So we have options on the table. We just want to select the right one. All right. There was some concerns raised, for example, on one of the exchanges that we mentioned in the chat. So we were vetting those concerns and making sure that they're valid concerns, and if so, we'll go a different route. But exchanges and listings on exchanges will come. All right, so no more hands, and I don't see any more questions. So I think we are good to wrap it up. I guess I'll close it off first just by saying, thank you to everyone for your resilience. We've been on a decent uptrend the last couple of weeks. Very little selling happening. Not that we've ever told anyone to hold, told anyone to sell, told anyone to buy, but seeing the resilience and ignoring the temptation to sell any of your position is definitely appreciated, and I'm sure the team can share that sentiment. We're definitely proud of the community that we've built. We definitely consider you all family.
So just a bit of
Everyone
touch
is.
on. So you guys gonna list the coin on exchanges after the mainnet or after the 11th of the October?
Yeah, so exchanges, the listings will happen after. So once we're clear of our ecosystem and the ecosystem's online, then we'll start working on listing on exchanges. So definitely stay tuned for that. Once we select our first one, we'll announce it, just like we announce everything else, and we'll get some attention on it. But yeah, so like I was saying, thank you everyone for your resilience. Thank you all for your time. Of course, you've all a lot of you have been here for the last 2 years, and we definitely appreciate each and every one of you.
Likewise, I will echo that sentiment. I mean, like I said, there is no Steam exchange, there is no Rails network without our trusted community, right? Over the course of 2 years, like I said, hurdles after hurdles, but through adversity, we just became stronger. And if it wasn't for you guys standing by ourselves, standing by us, continuing to pressure test us, we never came to this space claiming we knew everything. We just knew that there needed to be a change. And, with your voice behind us and in our ears, all hours of the night, making sure that, you guys are holding us accountable and we're holding ourselves accountable. We've made it to this junction. And like I said, this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? Getting to this junction is only the beginning. There's a lot of great things that we are set out to do. And we would love for you guys to continue to be by our sides as we continue to make waves and just change the space that we're in. So thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you everyone for your time today, and we'll get this recording up ASAP. Take care.
Take care, guys.
Cheers.